Hi folks, it's June 15th, 2020, and the SBA opened up the portal for new applications for EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loans, and EIDA, or Advances. Now, starting June 15th, the day I'm recording this video, qualified small businesses and U.S. agricultural businesses can apply for this loan. I'm going to put the link below so you can click on it and follow along as we do it. This is going to be a loan that could be up to $150,000. I don't know what the magic formula is in terms of how the SBA figures out how much you're eligible for. I would just tell you apply and then kind of see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the link that says apply here. Again, I'll put the link in the description below so you can follow along. And I'm actually going to do an application with you so you can kind of follow the process. So the first thing they ask for is choose one, right? So you're going to figure out which of these you apply for. So as long as you're a small business that has no more than 500 employees, even if you don't have any employees, you are eligible. So there's going to be the first option that says business with no more than 500 employees or individual who operates as a sole proprietor with or without employees as an independent contractor. Those are going to be the most typical people that are going to be applying. So I'm going to pick this one here that says small business with no more than 500 employees. Then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to read all of these things and make sure that your business doesn't apply to any of these things, because if it does, you're automatically not eligible. So I'm not in any legal activities. I'm not behind on my child support. I don't present live performances in prurient sexual nature. I don't know what that means. I'm going to check that I don't. And then we have does not derive more than 1/3 of gross income from gambling. Okay, good. I'm not in the lobbying business, and I'm not a state, local, or municipal government, right, or not a member of the Congress. So as long as all those things don't apply to you, you will hit those check boxes and move forward. So let me go ahead and click on continue. Then it's asking me business information. So I'm going to come down here and put my business legal name. So let me put here Garcia Enterprises LLC. Let's say I don't have a trade name that's different than my legal name. So basically I'll put the same thing as my legal name. If you happen to have a DBA or a fictitious name, you would put that in there. Then my EIN, my tax ID. If I am a sole proprietor, then I need to put a social security number, my social security number, unless I actually took out an EIN. So you would put that number in there. So I'm just going to put a random number in there. Then it tells you organization type. If you are an individual that's a subcontractor, 1099, independent contractor, sole proprietor, then you're going to pick something like sole proprietor or independent contractor. In this case, my business that I'm applying for, it's an LLC. So I'll put LLC in there. I'm not a nonprofit and I'm not part of a franchise. Then it tells you gross revenues for the last 12 months. So basically what you have to do is look into your accounting, or maybe look at your 2019 tax return and see your top line. What's everything that you sold, all your sales. So let's say, for example, my sales were $500,000. If you don't know what your sales are, you probably need to work with your accountant on this, or look at your last year's tax return. It's asking for 12 months prior, January 31st. So you could do February 1st, 2019 through January 31st, 2020, you could do that, but I'm pretty sure they'll accept just 2019 numbers because it'll just be more practical to do so. And the next question is cost of goods sold. These are your direct costs. Again, that information would be on your tax return. This is the cost of the products that you sell. If you don't sell products, if you just do services, then you probably don't have any cost of goods sold. You have to take a look at your financial statement, your QuickBooks, your tax return, see how you filed, and you want to make sure that that matches. So let's say, for example, my cost of goods sold were $250,000. Now, I don't have any rental properties. I'm not in the rental property business, so I'm not going to put anything in there. If you are in the rental property business, residential or commercial, and you're losing rents due to the disaster, that's where you put that information there. Then it's asking me for nonprofit or agricultural enterprise costs. I don't know what that is. I'm a for-profit company, so I'm going to skip that part. Then it says compensation from other sources received as a result of the disaster. So if you got money from other sources, maybe some grants or some state government or GoFundMe or whatever. Basically, they're saying, are you getting extra money that you weren't expecting it because of the disaster? I think that's what it means. Honestly, not 100% sure, everything that entails that box. Then it says, provide a brief description of the other compensation. So if you put a number there, you're going to have to describe it there. Then we're going to put our address. I'll go ahead and put an address here. And then I'm going to come down and put my business phone number, alternative phone number, and business fax. That's optional. So I'll go ahead and put my email address in here. And then it says date the business was established. So if you are a sole proprietor, you have to put that, go back to the first time you started getting paid as a sole proprietor business. If you have a formal S Corp, C Corp, LLC, you have to look at the actual date of incorporation. So let's say I incorporated on 1/1/2019. Then current ownership, right? So if you owned it from the very beginning, you're going to put the same date. If you kind of took over the ownership of that business at some other date, then you want to put that in there. Then business activity is asking you, what type of business are you in? So you're going to go through this list here and figure out which one makes most sense to you. So let's say I'm in the manufacturing business, so I'll pick manufacturing in there. Then it says detail business activity. When I click on that drop down, some of these options, let's say, let me pick finance, or let's say food and beverage. So I see some of these options have additional drop downs. Depending on what you choose, you might have to put additional drop downs. So in my case, when I chose manufacturing, it didn't ask me for an additional one, but whatever your industry is, might. Then it says number of employees as of January 31st, 2020. So you have to look at the number of employees that are in your payroll. If you don't have any payroll, then you need to put at least one for yourself, right? Because you're self-employed, you're the owner of the business. If both, let's say husband and wife own the business, then you should put at least two, because there's two people that are deriving income from that business. But if you have a whole bunch of employees, including yourself, then you want to figure out what that number is and put that number in there. I'm going to go ahead and click on next. Then we're going to write the information of the business owner itself. First question is the owner a business entity? So if the business is owned by another business, you would put yes, and then you're going to put the name of that other business. If the business is owned by an individual, you will put no, and then you put the information of the individual. So let me go ahead and put my information here. So there's my name, my last name, my phone number, then my title. I'm going to put here that I'm the owner. And then let's say I own 100% of it, and put my correct email. And let's go down. My social security number, I'm going to put a random number. So don't, can't steal my identity. Then my date of birth, I'll put a random one. So let's say 01/01/1970. Place of birth, let's put here Miami, Florida. U.S. citizen, yes. Residential address, just put an address in there, obviously your correct address. They're going to cross-check your information, so can't put bogus information, it won't work. Do you need to be a U.S. citizen? Honestly, I don't know. See, when I put no, it doesn't automatically boot me out. So I don't have the answer on whether or not you need to be one in order to get the loan. I assume that you got to be a resident at least, but I don't know if this question qualifies or disqualifies you. So I'm going to put yes anyway. Then I'm going to come down here and then click on next. Then additional information, this is where you're going to answer all these questions. So have you been convicted of a felony? I'm going to put no. Have you been suspended or debarred from getting government loans? I'm going to put no. Are you under indictment? I'm going to put no. And obviously you have to put the right answers there. You're basically signing this stuff under the risk of perjury, right? So this stuff needs to be accurate. If you put this wrong, you're defrauding the government again, and your butt's getting back to jail. All right, let's see. What else we have here? Has anybody assisted you on filling out this information? If so, and if they're doing it for you, you got to put that person's name. So let's say nobody's assisting me. So don't put my name. I'm not assisting you, right? I'm just doing the video. So don't put my name in there. But if someone is, I assume you have to disclose it. That's why they're asking for that. And I give permission to SBA to discuss the portion of the loan. Okay, I'm going to put no because I didn't put any information in there. And then here's the magic question. It says, I would like to be considered for an advance. Now, I don't know for sure whether this takes away or reduces your chances of getting the big loan, a loan up to $150,000, depending on your business size and number of your employees, etc. But I wouldn't not put this checkbox, right? Because it might be just additional free money, $1,000 per employee, up to 10 employees, whatever number of employees you have. So I would check that. I don't see any reason why not checking that. Then you're going to put your bank name. So let's say I do Bank of America, account number. So I'll put a bogus account number here. All right, so I got a random routing number here. Let me copy that here and bring that over here so it doesn't give me an error. Good. Okay, so I got a good routing number. Then it says, hey, I authorize the SBA to pull my credit, to check the information, to check my background, all that stuff. I assume that's what it says there. I don't remember by heart. And then you're going to go ahead and click on I certify under penalty of perjury that all this information is correct. And then you're going to click on next. Actually, I shouldn't do next at this point because I have a bogus account number in there. So I'm not going to click next anyway. But if you see right here, we were on step additional information. Once you click on next, it'll go to a summary, let you double check what it is, and then you finally do a submit. And I really hope that this video was helpful. Go ahead and do it because the government has funds. They want to help small businesses. Hopefully you can get the loan up to $150,000. I don't know how they calculate how much you're eligible for. It might be based on your sales. It might be based on your number of employees. It might be based on your industry. It might be a combination of all of them plus your location, right? So all those things might affect it. What's going to happen is after you do the application, you're going to get an email. It might take a couple, for me, it took a couple of weeks. It might get an email, and then on that email, you're going to have to click on the link that is in there, and it's going to ask you to create a username and password. Once you create the username and password, you're going to log in using the link that they gave you, and you click on sign in. And then it's going to say your quote. Is going to tell you the total dollar amount that you were eligible for. It's going to say status. In this case, this says funded because this particular client that I logged in for got funded. You're going to have steps to complete. You're going to have to upload some information about your identity. You might have to upload driver's license, social security number, business licenses. Depending on the business, they might ask you to upload that information. And then they're going to ask you to actually view the note itself. You're going to have to read through it. You're going to have to accept it. And then once you verify your information, you read the loan, you accept it, you're going to sign them, electronically sign them. And usually within 3 or 4 days, you'll see your money in your bank account like magic. Now let's go through what the actual loan document looks like. Obviously, I would tell you that you probably should work with your accountant, with your attorney to make sure that you understand what you're signing, assuming that you don't understand what you're signing. But I'm going to break down some of the things that are worth looking at here. So first, you're going to see the effective date of the loan. Top left, I will tell you when the loan got approved and when it's ready to get closed. Then you're going to see the name of the business, the address that got the funding. Then under payment, it tells you these are going to be installment payments. Here it tells you the dollar amount. So here's $467 per month for a loan of $98,000. It tells you that it'll begin 12 months from the date of the promissory note, and then the fact that they will be payable 30 years from the date of funding. So it's a 30-year note. Now we got the interest, which is 3.75. It's going to be accruing immediately. So even though you don't pay for 12 months, that interest is going to accrue. It's just going to amount to a little bit more payments, but that's already reflected on the payment amount you see there. Then we got the payment terms, which is basically telling you, like any standard loan, it will be applied to interest first and then to principal. Basically, it means that if you pay more than you're supposed to, so you decide to pay more than that 467, as soon as the interest is paid off, that balance goes towards the principal. You can actually prepay this loan. There's no prepayment penalty. Now, collateral, I think I mentioned earlier, there are no hard collateral for these loans, but the SBA will collateralize your business. They will put sort of a blanket collateral on your business without having to identify, okay, you got this real estate, you got this vehicle, you got this equipment. It's basically a blanket collateral. So basically, if you try to get another loan on top of this loan, the banks will see that you do have an SBA loan that hasn't been paid off. So basically, they do this so basically everybody's on notice that you have this SBA loan probably first, and they will be paid first if there's liquidation of your business before any other bank tries to liquidate your business for an additional loan that you get in any of those 30 years after the fact. So remember, if you're going to take 30 years to pay this off, that blanket collateral in your business exists. So you're looking at the fact that they are doing this soft collateralizing of your whole business. If the loan is under $25,000, it says here they don't take any sort of collateral. So that's the first page. On the second page, this gets a little bit trickier. It says that there's requirements relative to the collateral. So this is some of the restrictions you're going to have. Borrower will not sell or transfer any collateral except for the normal turn of business, such as inventory, right? Described on the collateral. So basically saying that if your business is worth X today, you can't just liquidate it because technically the SBA is using that as a collateral. Again, they're not naming the specific items of the collateral. It's not a hard collateral, but it's basically letting you know that there might be a restriction that you can't sell a major part of your business, right? If you sell a laptop or something like that, you're technically breaking the contract, but I don't think they're going to be looking at that really hard. Again, that type of advice needs to come from a lawyer, not from some accountant in YouTube, but it's something to give it some thought. They are allowing you to do written consent where you're telling the SBA, hey, look, I need to sell this asset. So there's a little bit of a strings attached, but for some business, for most businesses, selling assets of the business is not really what they do. Now, use of loan proceeds. This is really important. It says borrower will use all proceeds of this loan solely as working capital to alleviate economic injury caused by the disaster. So again, if your business is doing extremely well during the crisis and you get funded, and then within those 12 months, you don't need it for working capital, you probably should be paying the loan back because they are asking you to use the funds as working capital. So working capital is to pay off your short-term debt, pay off your vendors, pay your rent, that sort of thing. That's what short-term capital is. Now, they will charge $100 to collateralize the loan. So basically, when you get X amount approved in your bank, it's going to be X amount minus $100. That's basically what that says. Now, this is when it gets a little bit tricky, which is the requirements, right? It says here the borrower will obtain and itemize receipts, paid invoices, or canceled checks or contracts, etc., within 3 years of the date of the final disbursement, prior to each subsequent year, if any, whenever requested by the SBA. Borrower will submit to the SBA such itemization together with copies of receipts. What that is saying is that if the SBA has reason to believe that you're not using the funds correctly, they can come back to you and say, show me what you used the funds for, right? To make sure that you didn't buy yourself some personal asset with it. That's kind of what this is saying, right? You need to be able to prove what you used the money for. And you keeping this information anyway for the IRS as a business owner. So it's not going to be too much of a burden to keep information for the last 3 years for the SBA. So basically, they want to make sure that you don't use this money for personal purposes or non-working capital purposes. Then we have borrower will not use directly or indirectly any portion of this loan to relocate without prior written consent of the SBA. So basically, they're saying you can't use this money to move to another location, right? The law prohibits the use of this loan or proceeds of this loan for voluntarily relocation of the business in the area where the disaster has occurred. Now, technically, COVID-19 affected everyone everywhere in the country. So technically, the disaster occurred everywhere. So basically, most of these loans are meant to do zone-based disaster. So if you're getting this loan for a disaster that happened in your specific location, they're saying, hey, stay in that location because we're helping you kind of keep your business and grow your business in that location. In the case of the US, the entire US was affected by COVID-19. So I would say technically, it doesn't matter if you locate anywhere inside the US, but it says you can't use the money to relocate. So that's kind of like the tricky part behind it. So it says borrower will present to the SBA reasons there before for the description or the address of the relocation. So basically, if your address changes, you just have to prove, the reasons why your address is changed. Borrower will, to the extent feasible, purchase only American-made equipment and products with the proceeds of this loan. So it says to the extent that is feasible. I really don't know exactly legally what that means, but what they're saying is don't use the money to buy a bunch of Chinese equipment for your business, right? They're saying if there's an American alternative, go buy American because we're using American taxpayer dollars to support these loans. So that makes sense. I think I don't have any issues with that. Borrower will make any request for the loan increase in additional disaster-related damages as soon as possible if needed. So basically it says that if there's another disaster or something like that, you can request an increase, but it says here that is no more than 2 years from the date of approval. So that's something that you might want to go back to if there's some sort of second disaster going on. I hope that in my lifetime we'll never have to deal with something like this again. Then it says deadline to return loan closing documents. So as soon as you get these documents, as soon as they produce them, you have a limited amount of time that you have in order to submit these documents signed or electronically sign them. Otherwise, they might just cancel out the whole loan on you. Then it says compensation from other sources. Eligibility from this disaster is limited to disaster losses that are not compensated from other sources. So if you had insurance that paid you a bunch of money because of the disaster, they're saying, look, you got funded by a different source because of the disaster that the loan is for. So that's really for a very limited amount of companies that are actually getting income or grants or compensation from any source because of the disaster, and technically they don't need access to the loan, right? That's kind of what they're saying. Then it says duty to maintain hazard insurance. Within 12 months of the date of the loan authorization, you will provide proof that an active and in effect hazard insurance policy, including fire, lightning, or extended coverage for all items used to secure the loan, 80% of insurance value. So what this is saying is, if you're getting a loan of $100,000 and the SBA says your business is worth $100,000 and we're securing the value of your business of that $100,000, you should have insurance to protect that if some other disaster like fire or flood or lightning or whatever this is saying, you should have some sort of insurance to secure your business assets. I don't know exactly what the mechanics of this will look like. It says here, it gives you here an address for you to provide the insurance. I don't know if that's going to be everyone or some people. Honestly, I really don't know what the mechanics of proving that insurance look like, but that's in the agreement. You are signing to it. Then it's talking about books and records. Of course, you need to keep information about your books, your expenditures, who the owners are, all that stuff. You got to keep records of, which you're going to do anyway, so no need to read over that. And then we got a really important one, limits on distributions of assets. Borrower will not, without prior consent of the SBA, make any distribution of borrower's assets and give any preferential treatment, make any advance, directly or indirectly, by the way of loan, gift, bonus, or otherwise to any owner, partner, or its employees, or any company directly or indirectly controlling or affiliated with controlled by the borrower or another company. Basically, what this says, from what I understand, is you cannot use the loan proceeds to pay the owner a whole bunch of distribution of cash. That's not what it's for. You can't use the loan proceeds to make a major purchase for the owner's benefit. So technically, you can't use the loan proceeds to buy a personal house as a owner of the business, right? That's basically what it's saying. The money is used for the business, for business purposes, for working capital, not for the benefit of the owner. Those are really the highlights. I really only read the things that kind of jump out in the first couple of pages, but you want to read the entire document, of course, before you agree to it. Again, work with your accountant, with your attorney, if you're not sure what you're signing on for. Look, 30-year loan, up to $150,000, whatever you get offered at 3.75%. It's a great deal anyway. If your business got affected by COVID and you can use that money to keep your business alive, that's something I would recommend doing anyway. So keep that in mind. Thank you very much. Again, subscribe to the channel, hit like, share it with your friends and family, and apply as soon as possible before the funds run out. Thank you.